welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. Residents rally in support of new death penalty for rape in Bangladesh. Baloch students take up protest march after Pakistan universities deny them admission. And tourist influx rises in India's Agra city as Taj Mahal reopens. Let's begin the show from Bangladesh, where the government has approved death penalty for rape. The cabinet took the decision after a series of rapes triggered massive protests across the country and people called out government's inaction. Earlier, the severest punishment for committing such a heinous crime amounted to life imprisonment, which according to those supporting the decision didn't create deterrence. While a number of cases remain unregistered, Bangladesh has reported nearly 1,000 rape cases in past 7 months, shaking the conscience of the people.
A large number of Bangladesh residents took to streets hailing the government's decision of capital punishment to those who commit rape. The decision came in the wake of widespread protests that rocked the capital Dhaka and other parts of the country. The latest outpouring of national anger was sparked by a video of a group of men stripping and attacking a woman for almost half an hour in the southeastern district of Noakhali. It has been pulled down from the internet now. Since then, people have not just been demanding death to those rapists, but to all who are involved in such crimes. Government approval to their demand, they say, is the beginning of tough actions against crime.
গতকাল ধর্ষণের বিরুদ্ধে যে মৃত্যুদণ্ড কার্যকর হয়েছে আইন, সেটা যেন খুব দ্রুত কার্যকর হয়। একটা ধর্ষক যেন খুব দ্রুত তাকে শাস্তির আয়তায় আনতে পারি, আমরা এটাই আমাদের চাওয়া পাওয়া এখন।
Bangladesh has witnessed a surge in sexual crime in recent years. People and activists blame the government for not being assertive enough in dealing with the crime. Dhaka-based Aino Salish Kendra, one non-government civil rights and legal aid organization, said in its recent findings that nearly 1,000 incidents were reported between January and September this year, out of which 20% were gang rapes. A 2013 UN multi-country survey found that most of those who admitted to committing rape didn't suffer any legal consequences. The attackers are rarely held to account. The conviction rate for rape in Bangladesh is below 1%. A few activist groups say that the government is moving forward in the right direction.
সহিংসতা বন্ধে যে মৃত্যুদণ্ড বিধান রেখে আইন প্রণয়ন করেছেন, এটাকে আমরা সাধুবাদ জানাই। কিন্তু শুধুমাত্র আইন করে কিংবা প্রয়োগ করে কি এটা সম্ভব না। আমরা যদি একটা সুস্থ স্বাভাবিক ভালো সমাজ পাইতে চাই, নারীর প্রতি সহিংসতা কমাইতে চাই, তাহলে অবশ্যই মার্শাল আর্ট বা কারাতের মতো বিষয়গুলো আমাদের বিভিন্ন শিক্ষা প্রতিষ্ঠানে প্রাতিষ্ঠানিকভাবে ছড়াই দিতে হবে।
A few others, including the Human Rights Watch, is skeptical of the idea of capital punishment and says that hanging criminals won't curb the crime rate. They believe that authorities needed to immediately address systemic problems in rape trials and extremely low conviction rates. A few also blame the increasing number of assaults on a culture of impunity and protection of suspects by influential individuals for political reasons.
Pakistan is not just systematically plundering the resource-rich Balochistan of its minerals, but is working at an extensive multi-pronged design to push Baloch towards political catastrophe. As if the absence of fundamental rights, social security and employment wasn't enough, the establishment is now denying them education. It does not want Baloch to read, write and grow into informed, efficient and employable mass. While the quality of the handful of higher education institutions in Balochistan has degraded considerably owing to systems apathy, the universities in other provinces are now denying them admissions. The quota has been abolished without notice. There has been a backlash, but authorities haven't moved an inch. Students have taken up a protest march which they say will go till Islamabad if authorities do not roll back their decision.
This marching group of students sloganeering against systemic injustice are Baloch students who have high educational aspirations. But the state is not letting them learn beyond a limit. They have been denied admission in the government universities across Pakistan. The universities that provided them quota seats until last year have rejected their applications with no notice or alternative. Universities say they have run out of funds to accommodate scholarships. Students call it a systemic conspiracy and discrimination. In protest, they are now holding weeks-long march which will traverse through prominent Pakistan cities before culminating in capital Islamabad. Students say they decided to march across the country after their repeated requests of restoration of seats fell on deaf ears.
Many of the students belonging from Balochistan do not afford higher education, and Balochistan have least number of universities as compared to the other provinces of Pakistan. After intermediate, many of the students from middle class families cannot afford the heavy fees and leave their education. Due to the educational backwardness in Balochistan, quota seats were provided in different universities of the Punjab. But this year, administration of Bahauddin Zakir University Multan abolished these seats and said we cannot afford the expenses of this scholarship. We protested against this decision in front of the Bahauddin Zakir University main gate, where we demanded the restoration of these seats, but no one listened to us. We took a strict step and decided to march towards Islamabad via Lahore.
Balochs who already accuse Pakistan of systematic discrimination against them say that the establishment has now extended its suppressive designs to education. Pakistani authorities don't want Balochs to read and write, for they fear that containing a rebellion by an informed and educated mass will be beyond their capacities. Even the primary and secondary education of the region has been in shambles. While the infrastructure is crumbling, enrollment is disappointingly dismal. The largest province, Balochistan, has a total of just 9 universities, including the private ones, against the colossal figure of 67 in Punjab province. This determined lot says that it will not give up until the seats and the dignity is restored.
We have been marching for last 3 days and covered approximately 110 kilometers. We are our way towards Lahore, and if Israel government do not take actions and restore our seats, then we take our way to the capital city of the country, that is Islamabad.
It is not just that the Baloch students are not getting admission into universities, but the entire academia hailing from the region is at the target of Pakistan Army and its proxies. Pakistan's devious designs have been exposed in their recent acts, where they have exclusively kidnapped, tortured and killed educated Baloch youth. And this systematic violence has been upgraded in the backdrop of China-Pakistan economic corridor that has witnessed a considerable resistance from Balochs. As per observers, only one thing out of Balochs and Pakistan's economic ambitions can sustain in Balochistan: a debt-ridden Islamabad seems to have made its choices. Balochs do not matter to it.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha in a courtesy call in Bangkok. The Chinese government's top diplomat is on an official trip in South Asia, including Thailand. Social distance measures against the coronavirus disease were strictly observed. They gave no details of the meeting. The meeting took place at Government House, from where anti-government protesters who gathered outside had been cleared hours earlier following the imposition of emergency measures. Thailand's government banned protests and police arrested at least 3 protest leaders in the face of escalating demonstrations targeting King Maha Vajiralongkorn as well as Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, a former junta leader. Peru opened the ruins of Machu Picchu for a single Japanese tourist after he waited almost 7 months to enter the Inca citadel while trapped in the Andean country during the coronavirus outbreak. J.C. Katayama's entry into the ruins came thanks to a special request he submitted while stranded since mid-March in the town of Aguas Calientes on the slopes of the mountains near the site, said Minister of Culture Alejandro Neira.
This is truly amazing. Thank you, Minister of Culture Alejandro Neira, for letting me see this.
Katayama, his entry ticket on one hand since March, entered the ruins of the citadel built more than 500 years ago on October 10th and became the first visitor in 7 months to be able to walk through the World Heritage Site. His original plan had been to spend only a few days in Peru to take in Machu Picchu. Minister Neira said that in November the stone ruins of Machu Picchu will be reopened for national and foreign tourists without specifying the date. The site will permit 30% of its normal capacity of 675 people per day. China's Shenzhen city has undergone tremendous changes since it became the country's first special economic zone 40 years ago. Now a modern metropolis with permanent population of over 13 million in South China's Guangdong province, Shenzhen used to be a small fishing village. The city has also made itself a prominent test bed of China's reform and opening up, as well as a hub of entrepreneurship, creativity and innovation. Statistics show that high-tech enterprises were basically non-existent in Shenzhen in 1979, but by the end of 2019, the city was home to over 17,000 national high-tech companies with a total output value of 2.6 trillion yuan, $390.82 billion US dollars. Shenzhen has also attracted many startup companies. IntelliFusion Technologies, a Chinese AI chip maker, has developed the world's first dynamic face recognition system that can identify human faces with only a few seconds. The Shenzhen Bay Venture Plaza, a commercial pedestrian street covering an area of about 123,000 square meters, is home to over 1,000 entrepreneurial teams and enterprises. It has an annual output value of over 250 billion yuan, with products covering the areas of AI, IT, 5G, and intelligent manufacturing, among others. The commercial center has also seen China's first 5G live experience block established. Despite the great achievements that Shenzhen has made over the past 4 decades, the city still has broad development space.
Moving on, with a relatively lower COVID caseload, India is walking the talk of a comprehensive fight against the pandemic. And it is not just about the government claims. Iconic Taj Mahal, one of the modern wonders, is now receiving more footfalls as compared to what it witnessed previous month when it reopened after 6 months. While the number of daily infections has dropped in past 2 weeks, the government is now focusing at preventing fatalities. It aims to bring it down below 1%.
Tourist influx in India's Taj Mahal city, Agra, has witnessed a surge. Officials say the numbers have gone up by 25 to 30% as compared to previous month. The Monument of Love was reopened after 6 months on 21st September. People have become relatively confident after a considerable decline in the daily infections that had reached nearly 100,000 per day for at least 2 weeks. It is around 50,000 per day now. Superintending Archaeologist of Archaeological Survey of India, Basant Kumar, said that generally all tickets to the monument are being sold every day and other monuments are also witnessing a turn-up.
निश्चित रूप से जब ताजमहल हमने खोला था या अन्य स्मारक जब खुले थे उसकी तुलना में हम देखें तो पिछले हफ्ते में दर्शकों में 25 से 30% की बढ़ोतरी हुई है और जो हमारी लिमिट है टिकटों की वो लगभग ताजमहल में तो पूरी हो जा रही है, अन्य जगहों पर भी दर्शक निरंतर बढ़ते चले जा रहे हैं।
Tourism is a key to Indian economy and has been instrumental in the swift GDP growth the country has witnessed over time. World Travel and Tourism Council data shows that tourism contributed about $240 billion or 9.2% of India's gross domestic product in 2018, employing more than 42 million people. While the Government of India has been pushing for reopening of the market to make up for the huge losses it has incurred, it is also working at a holistic strategy aimed at further curbing the menace of virus. Apart from bringing down the positive numbers, the authorities are now working at bringing down the fatality rate. Despite climbing cases, Indian fatality rate is already among the lowest in the world.
हमने उनके साथ बैठक करके ये स्ट्रैटेजी बनाई है कि यहाँ किस प्रकार के विशेष उपाय किए जाने चाहिए जिससे इन मृत्यु दर को जो बढ़ रही है, खास स्थानों पर बढ़ रही है, उसको कैसे नियंत्रण में लाया जाए, कैसे नीचे लाया जाए, क्योंकि देश में हमारा जो लक्ष्य है वो 1% केस फेटेलिटी रेट का है।
The country's health ministry says that it is expecting to get its hands on vaccine by early next year and is drawing a plan for its swift distribution, keeping vulnerable groups priority. Meanwhile, Serum Institute, the largest vaccine manufacturer of the world, which is conducting phase 2 and 3 trials of the Oxford COVID-19 vaccine, has sought approval to expand the scope of vaccine trials in India. It wants elderly and vulnerable to be a part of the program. It says that broadening the inclusion criteria will align the Indian trials of Covishield with that of the ongoing global trials and test the vaccine for high-risk individuals and real-world distribution scenarios.
Moving on, there are many festivals in Nepal during which people worship idols of god and goddesses with much adoration and traditional fervour. The onset of the much-awaited Durga Puja in the Himalayan nation means not only festivities but also opportunities for artists and sculptors to make good profits. However, this year the artists are disheartened with dwindled buyers due to coronavirus pandemic. The festivities are marked with restrictions to contain the spread of infection, and therefore there are no grand celebrations being witnessed this year. Have a look.
Durga Puja is just around the corner. Made with clay and hay straws, these lifelike Durga idols are the product of days of hard labor of the idol makers. The idol makers start in much ahead of the biggest festival, Durga Puja, in the Himalayan nation. But this year, they are in despair with dwindled business and negligible takers for their idols ahead of the annual festival. Usually the festival of Durga Puja is celebrated with much pomp and show. However, with the coronavirus restriction in place, the festivities this year remained rather dull and somber.
सेट होइन सेट त यो दुर्गाको जम्मा 3-4 सेट जान्छ अनि विश्वकर्माको जान्छ 100वटा जति यो वर्षमा त गएन यो वर्षमा चौपट छ व्यापार यो यसपालि 2 सेट दुर्गा गयो त्यति हो गएको छैन
One of the Nepalese sculptures, Phulan Devi, makes the ornament and jewelry that the goddess idols are decorated with. Her 2 sons and husband help in making and painting and putting the dress on the idols. The family of 4 resides in a humble shanty which they call Karkhana and make idols around the year for various festivals. As the celebrations this year are muted, sales have dipped down. That has brought losses to the family, which has been relying on the business for their livelihood.
अब त्यही लकडाउन भयो कोरोना भाइरस आयो नि त त्यसले गरेर भएन बन्द भयो न त बन्द भएन भने त व्यापार हुन्थ्यो मेरो यो बन्द भयो
A set of Durga idol which has more than half a dozen idols takes nearly 2 weeks to be completed for delivery to the clients. Clay, hay straws and husks are used to make the idols. Bamboo sticks and other raw material are used to give support to the structure, which takes around 3 days to dry up and ready for spray paint. Goddess Durga, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Lord Kartik and Lord Ganesha, along with idols of demons Mahisasur and Sumbha and Nisumbha, are included in the set. Autumn is the season for Kathmandu Valley's traditional festivals in Nepal, where religious celebrations and rituals are a big part of the lives. But people this year have scaled down their rituals within their homes.
It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off from the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.